Hello and welcome to HD Philosophy, the channel where we take some time at the classics to bring our lives into high definition. And this is episode 11 of the Gospel Meditations, where I outline and discuss the insights from my family breakfast as we meditate on this week's gospel message. So sit back and relax and enjoy the ranked batch as we meditate on Ephesians 2, 8 through 10.
Let's go!
For by grace you have been saved through faith, and this is not your own doing, it is a gift of God, not the result of works, so that no one may boast. For we are what he has made us, created in Jesus Christ for good works, which God prepared beforehand to be our way of life. Now, this week's gospel meditations really hit on for what he has made us. We are creations of God. Now, think about what that really means, because I brought in Aristotle to really prompt my family's discussion in this way. Because when you think about Aristotle and you think about the concept of telos, you really get an understanding of what sin means in this way. And like even my father was kind of jumping in when my daughter and my wife brought in this concept of radical autonomy. So stick with me here. Aristotle had this concept of what's known as telos, or purpose, and he equated morality to being like a craft. So if you think about telos, one's ultimate aim, one's ultimate purpose, in the sense of a ship, now you have the parts of the ship that become, in virtue of the ship itself, either good or bad. So a ship's telos, say a battleship's telos, for example, is to be able to not only sail fast, but be able to handle the weapons of its opponents, and also be able to have weapons anchored in certain ways to outflank, etc., right? So think about just the ship for now. The wood that is used on the ship is in virtue to the purpose of the ship itself. It needs to be strong, but it needs to be lightweight because it needs to be fast, right? If it's made of like sandpaper, it's not going to be good material for the ship. And that's what he means by virtue. The virtue is akin to that perfect ground that is subordinate to the telos. The wood is only good wood in that it serves its ultimate aim. Even the captain, if the captain doesn't know how to navigate in stormy weather, if the captain doesn't know what to do in battle, he's not a good captain, because this ship's function is to be able to sail fast, sail through harsh weather, and be able to attack. So I hope what you're seeing here is the entirety of the ship, all its material, the skill that's involved, is all subordinate to that telos. It is the telos that defines the wood, the crew, the captain. All of their positions are defined by this ultimate telos. Now, go into Ephesians 2:10. For we are what he has made us. If we are the works of God, as it's plainly stating here, then we have a telos, we have an aim, and that is the aim that he has imbued within us. That's why it's created in Jesus Christ for good works. This is our telos, this is our aim. So what is sin? Because we have to have that free will in order to choose to love God, because God so much loved us that he gave us the ability to love him back. And what does love necessitate? As a telos, as an ultimate aim, what is in the works of love itself that is necessary? Choice. I need to be able to choose to love. My children, they have to be able to choose not to love me in order for love to exist. They choose by their own volition to love me, and that is necessary for the definition of love itself. So if we are God's created works, then we are meant for a certain aim, and that aim aligns to our purpose. It's what defines us. We are actually defined by the works of God. If God created us, we are mechanisms of God. Of course, imbued with free will, but still mechanisms of God. Then we actually have a code. We actually have a law that we're supposed to follow. And the virtue, the happiness, the goodness itself that is imbued in us is subservient to that law, much like the ship is, much like a computer program is, although a computer doesn't have the free will to choose otherwise. If we choose not to follow this law, not only are we going outside of our code, not only are we going outside of the way we're built, but we're going outside of what is considered good works. You see? Sin is a violation of that law. We're choosing not to follow the code that was imbued in us, this objective code that exists in the outside that is not by our own making, but is a gift of God. And so after I stated this, it became really clear here that the concept of autonomy can be extremely flawed. In here, in Ephesians 2:10, what we're seeing here is it is not our own autonomy as that which we should live by. It is God's purpose. It is theonomy. My wife brings up this recent article she read that people are falling in love with AI. They're prompting AI to create somebody that they can fall in love, their perfect match, you know? And then, ironically, when we're at breakfast, because my wife brought up that AI discussion in the morning, we go to this service about, radical autonomy and how we're mechanisms of God. And then when we're at breakfast, my daughter brings up this concept of AI, this AI partner, that it isn't love whatsoever. But it is love in some sense. Now hear me out here, because this is actually something I learned a few months ago as I was reading Bishop Nonis and Saint Pelagia. So, it isn't love because there isn't another person on the other side to reciprocate it. But it's almost like it's a hint of love, And so she was like, well, don't I need to kind of know what love is before I can actually love someone? And I was like, not necessarily. I can go the speed limit without knowing that the speed limit is 25. I can just be accidentally going 25. I just don't have justification for doing it or saying that it is the right speed limit. So I don't have the justification there. I don't need to necessarily know what love is in order to love. Just like a lot of moral realists make this mistake when they're talking to atheists. An atheist can act morally without knowing that God is giving them that moral compass. They can do it accidentally. They just don't have any grounding for doing it or calling it moral, And for this, I'm taken to what Bishop Nonis saw in the harlot Saint Pelagia. When Bishop Nonis stepped out of his vehicle with a bunch of other bishops, and they saw this prostitute walking on the side of the road, and how lavish she looked, and how much she dolled herself up, all the other bishops averted their eyes, but Bishop Nonis looked at her. And when he looked at her, there was this grief that kind of fell over him. It actually brought him to tears. Because when he looked at her, he didn't see that she didn't love. He just saw that she didn't love properly. When he looked at her, his exact statement was, look at how much work she does to put herself together. Imagine what she would do if all of this was properly aligned. You see, it's not that we don't know how to love outside of God. It's just that sin flips the love. This is what the demons do, right? They take the great gifts of God and they flip it on its head. That's what they do. And so Bishop Nonis, he didn't see that she wasn't loving. It just wasn't properly aligned. And that's what we have here. We have people who are creating their mate, not because they aren't loving, it's just the love isn't properly oriented. And without that proper orientation, like Aristotle's telos, well, then it becomes bad love because it is actually leading you astray. The concept of sin, the etymology of sin, is to miss the mark. Not that you don't know how to shoot the arrow, it's just you're aiming at the wrong target. God gives us the ability to love. When I was sitting there and I was in the church, my ego sprang up for a little while. Because as they were talking about God's love, I was thinking about how my son loves me, my daughter loves me, and my wife loves me. And that's by my own making. My hard work with them, taking my daughter to rehearsals when I'm exhausted, taking my son to the card store after I've been driving for over 3 hours, making that extra effort with my wife to just go in and give her a big hug. I am doing those things, and through those things, they love me. So that's when the ego kind of popped up. It's like, well, I'm doing these works right here because I want to show them how much they mean to me. Don't I get some kind of credit for that? But then I realized the reason I'm able to love in the first place is the very gift of God that makes that possible. The feeling I get when I see them smile. The feeling I get when they say, I love you, Dad. That right there is the gift of God. Because we take for granted the fact that we have it in the first place. Why should we have love? Why should we have reason? Why shouldn't we be like every other animal, cursed in the perpetual motion of cause and effect, unable to determine my own choices and my way out of it? Love is the eternal gift we're given because it is through love that necessitates free will. As the pastor said, God doesn't send us to hell. We choose to go there. If God's law is the moral law and what's best for us, then choosing to disobey it is choosing to go against the very mechanisms that define what love is and are telos as human beings.
These are some fighters who know their stuff. Too scared to come out and face me. I'll give it. I won't lose to anyone.
Thank you for watching HD Philosophy. Like, share, and subscribe.